that they have a board executive compensation committee. There is no I'm going to have to change my phraseology now. There is no participation with any outside firm at this time. They feel that they can do it by themselves, as the activities will be related to their needs and strategic plans. The goals must be measurable, global, provincial, national, what have you. The method that would be used would be 1% of 5% in years 2, 3, and 4 will go to, shall we call them incentives, though they may come up with a different word for them, but that's what they mean. So measurements would be such as EQAO. You're going to get a certain percentage on EQAO. You're going to improve by a certain percentage. All right, so to get to that 1%, they're going to use 1% for incentives and the other 4% for the usual process of raises. So if you wanted to get a certain amount of that 1%, because if you've got 10 SOs and you've got 1%, then you may get 10% of the 1% type of thing. So items such as improving results on EQAO, budgets, balancing, meeting budget. So for instance, they would choose, let's say, 4 goals for their senior staff. 2 would be collective goals, and 2 would be individual goals. So if each one of us here was an SO, we may have one goal that is related to the system that we're all working on, a second goal that's related to the system in another way we're all working on, and then 2 individual goals that will pertain to us personally in terms of our own portfolio. All right? So if an SO doesn't meet the goals, then that finance, that potential increase, would go to another SO who excelled, because you get the percentage every year. So that would go to someone who has excelled. So they feel that that would be a good way too of maintaining and increasing professionalism. And I did ask if there was any merit in working with a GTA group or a provincial group on a joint venture. And they feel that they're doing their own thing, because for accountability within their system, it just works for their system. They're working to their own needs at that particular point. And the money is based on the priorities of the strategic plan. Okay, so that was basically the conversation, and I believe the chair of the board is going to be contacting me to speak more about this in the future. But it seems to be an individual board thing through their own exec comp committee. Okay? Any questions? No? All right. Sorry, I didn't have my mic on there.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So last day, as you know, I know Mr. Quinn was not available, but everyone else is aware that I did a presentation on the Executive Compensation Program. One of the things I stressed, and I'll be very brief because you've heard this already. Number one, I stressed that this is mandated by the province. So this is legislation. It's the Broader Public Sector Executive Compensation Act. And it's mandated in the sense that you have duties and responsibilities that are mandated. You're not mandated to give somebody a certain increase, but you're mandated, the board of trustees is mandated to carry out this role over the next 3 years. So when you speak to your constituents and someone says, well, why did you play this role? I mean, I think your response is because I was required to by provincial legislation. I had no choice. I'm being directed to. That's the first point. The second point is, and I made this point last day, that this applies to the entire broader public sector. So the point to make to your constituents is this process doesn't just apply to the Halton Catholic District School Board. It applies to every single university in the province of Ontario, every single college, every single hospital, and every single one of the 72 school boards. So it's a process that applies to the whole public sector, and this is not a Ministry of Education initiative. This is a Treasury Board initiative set down by the Ministry of Finance in conjunction with the Treasury Board. So this is a larger issue than just the Ministry of Education and even the education sector. This applies to the entire broader public sector. That's the second point. The third point is that our SOs, along with every other SO in the province, has effectively been frozen for the last 6 or 7 years. So since 2010, 2011, the SOs have been frozen in their salary. I know that your SOs were given an increase from September 1, 2017, but before then, they were all frozen, and so they have been, in terms of everyone else, i.e. teachers have had increases, all your non-union people have had increases, and there's a considerable inequity. One of the major inequities is that principal salaries have kept going up, and principals have done very well in negotiating for themselves. There are some principals that are making, in the province, up to $140,000. Some of your SOs started prior to September 2017. Some of your SOs were at 149. Some of your SOs were at 153. So what we call, this is called compression, and you have the principal salaries creeping up, and the people that they reported to were just marginally higher. And the ministry was quite upset that this was a historic inequity that we needed to address. So in dealing with equity, in dealing with attracting competitive talent, in dealing with attracting innovative leadership, with respect to the continued progress of student success and student achievement, this executive compensation program attempts to balance the need to manage compensation costs and need to attract and retain executive talent that we seek. Now, this board has been, quite successful, because this board has been regarded by the ministry as a level 4 board, which is quite, I think, an achievement. There's only 6 Catholic school boards in the province that were moved up a level. Yours was one. There were a number of Catholic school boards that applied to move up a level, and they were turned down. Oh, you didn't? Okay, sorry. I must have been, sorry. But so you're a level 4 board. That's a particularly strong group, and I went over last time all the other level 4 boards that are comparable, and the whole point is that you should be paying your people comparable with other level 4 boards and with other boards in the area, your coterminous boards that are similar or equivalent, i.e. the public board in your area. And you've got some other level 4 boards, as I recall, like the Wellington board and Waterloo Catholic and other level 4 boards that are here that could attract some of your talent, and you want to be competitive. So you submitted an envelope to the ministry. That envelope was a legal envelope. We've done the numbers when we came. When your director sent us down the numbers that were submitted to Josh Paul, the Assistant Deputy Minister, in September 2017. We did a review of your envelope. Your envelope was calculated appropriately. So your envelope that was approved by the ministry was $1,909,000, and that was an accurate envelope. That's based on actual salaries paid in the 2016-2017 school year. So, and then you've applied for a 2.6% increase, which was approved. My point to you last day was, in our presentation, was that virtually every other, the Ministry of Education has indicated that they are willing to approve up to 5%, and virtually every other school board, every other Catholic school board has applied for and received a 5%, and that your coterminous school boards have all applied for and been approved for 5%. All the boards that I represent, except for one, and those are about 15 school boards, including Toronto, Peterborough, Dufferin-Peel, the Durham Catholic, Niagara Catholic, all have applied for and been approved at 5%. So this time, you've had an opportunity now to post this on your website. You've posted it on for the 30 days. There have been minimal public feedback. And so this is the time that the board has a complete opportunity to go back to the ministry. And if you look at the feedback that you received, the feedback indicated that that there were concerns regarding the level of inequity with respect to the compensation amounts paid. The public feedback.
Oh, sorry, so that was the public feedback, the 5 or 6, 8
Yeah, there-
respondents who were especially concerned about compensation for superintendents.
Yes, so what they said, there was 8 pieces of correspondence that were provided, that
Yes.
came in through the public consultation process. The highlights were that the school board executives will be compensated at a lower rate than other school boards. That was one of the comments. That the school board will have difficulty attracting and retaining executive talent because salaries will not be competitive. That's number 2. And number 3, that other employee groups have had salary increases, and yet executive salaries have been frozen for almost 6 years.
Didn't those sound to you, as they sounded to me, like stakeholder feedback from the precise stakeholders whom we're discussing?
Well, you know, we don't know who these are from. All I'm saying to you is that this is now a turning point, Trustee Quinn, that if you're going to go back to the ministry and ask for an adjustment of your compensation program, the regulation gives you this window.
I'm trying to figure out on whose behalf you are speaking.
Oh.
You went through the entire processing. We've performed everything correctly. We've done what we've been asked to do by the ministry and by the Treasury, as you stated, and we have submitted our number, and it was approved. I'm wondering what you or who you are representing. Are you representing us as trustees at the board, or some other party?
Is that Eric? I'm sorry?
It was through you to the chair.
Yes, absolutely. But I was the one that called Eric because, and we discussed this at our last meeting, if I recall correctly. Well, did you call him? Paula did. Paula contacted him. But at the last time we met, there was some confusion. People said that they needed clarification, and we asked, should we bring someone in to do that? And it was agreed that we would. And that gentleman is one of our lawyers, and he's done an excellent job last week answering questions, and he is here again.
So to answer your question, Trustee Quinn, I represent the corporate board. I don't represent the Board of Trustees. I certainly don't represent the director. I don't represent the chair. I represent, in coming here, the corporation. I also act for about, in this case, 15 other Catholic school boards, giving those boards advice on exactly the same issues. So yesterday afternoon, I spent the whole afternoon at Toronto Catholic. So boards asked me, because this is an area that I've developed some expertise in, so boards asked me for advice on compliance with this legislation. I'm here to say to you, you've complied to date, as you've said, but if the board is going to make a determination around revising the maximum rate of increase, this is the time to do that. This is the opportunity. Because the ministry is willing to allow you to at least apply for a revision of your program. Once this program is finalized, then you're set for 3 years, and there'll be no ability to make these kinds of adjustments. All the other boards, I'm saying to you, have been approved at 5%. That money, you missed the presentation last week that I gave, but that money is...
Due to technical difficulties, I wasn't able to hear. I attempted to join.
Okay, money is sweatered. The money comes in a separate GSN. It's totally sweatered. It does not affect curriculum. It doesn't affect the classroom. It's guaranteed funds from the ministry that is sweatered just for executive compensation. So my point to you is, if you're going to get these funds anyways, and all the other boards are accepting these funds, then why not support your outstanding executives and your outstanding supervisory officers, and create a team where you're going to have the most talented and innovative leaders in the province, and you're going to be paying them well, and you'll be paying them at the level that they should be paid. You have a Mercer salary grid that brings your SOs up to 185. I have done a grid indicating that you can get to the top of that in 3 years. Your director has got a grid that takes her up to 257. Again, you can get to the top of the Mercer grid in 3 years. So, and you'll be at the same level of all your other level 4 boards. So I'm suggesting to you, why not be competitive with your coterminous board and be competitive with all the other level 4 boards? The money is available for you to use. And if you don't use it, it'll just be given to other boards. So why not take advantage of this opportunity? Trustee Quinn.
Eric, if I may, Vice Chair would like to question?
But the one thing we're deciding here today is the percentage increase in the envelope. That, like, if there's one thing we need to accomplish today is either to confirm what we already decided or rescind that motion and decide on another number. And I just want to clarify, we don't need to talk about the specific salary grid. We just need to decide on a percentage increase.
Right. So that's a great point. The specific salary grid will be done in camera with the trustees. It is your discretion. It's your decision. But it should be done before the end of February, because if it's not, then it won't be retroactive to September 1st, 2017. So you only have, you only have kind of 3 weeks to do that. This is not the time in public to discuss that grid. And Trustee Marai, sorry, I can't see that well. Trustee Marai is absolutely right. Really, the envelope is the envelope. It's set. It's the legal envelope. All we're here to do is talk about that percentage increase.
Point of order, Madam Chair. There's no motion on the floor yet. No. So we can't really debate this unless there's something on the floor.
Point of clarification. It's just that if we decide not to pass this motion, the motion we already passed at 2.6% stands, and there's nothing else to do.
Right. And it's all, and well, you would know there is something to do. You'd pass a motion confirming, one, that you will send this back to the ministry with the public consultation. You haven't done that yet. You need to inform the ministry that the public consultation is complete. These are our 8, and there's a form that I've shown the director that the ministry wants you to use, and then you confirm that the compensation program remains the same. And that's all you, and generally within a week, you'll get approval from the ministry. That's correct.
Can we read the motion into the public before we vote on it?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'd like to make an amendment to the motion. Sure, go ahead, please.
And seconded by Trustee Rowe. Whereas the September 26, 2017 Executive Compensation Program submission was 2.6 of the 2016-2017 pay envelope. Whereas stakeholder feedback was not in support of the Board's proposed Executive Compensation Program. Be it resolved that the Halton Catholic District School Board rescind in-camera motion IC 106-17, dated September the 26th, 2017, which submitted the proposed HCDSB Executive Compensation Program to the Ministry of Education using the 2016-2017 pay envelope with a maximum rate of increase of 2.6%. Be it further resolved that the Halton Catholic District School Board authorize staff to inform the Ministry of Education of the results of the Executive Compensation Stakeholder Feedback process. Be it further resolved that the Halton Catholic District School Board submit to the Ministry of Education a revised Executive Compensation Program of 5% of the 2016-2017 pay envelope. Be it resolved that the Halton Catholic District School Board approves Superintendent's and Director of Education salary grids based on the Ministry approved Executive Compensation Framework at Level 4 as presented.
I'd like to make an amendment. My amendment would be, I move that be it further resolved that the Executive Compensation Program designate a certain portion of its funding envelope for the purpose of awarding executives who achieve specific, measurable, strategic objectives as prescribed by the board's strategic plan. Be it further resolved that the executive compensation program designate a certain portion of its funding envelope for the purpose of awarding executives who achieve specific, measurable, strategic objectives as prescribed by the board's strategic plan. It's fine, but I want the board to agree in principle that this is something that we want to do.
May we use the microphones, please?
No, I'm stating that we do it all the time, that we do it every year. Well, if it's not in the strategic plan right now, that yes, that in the next year of funding, the first opportunity we have the funding to set aside a portion of it for performance incentives. So it'll be in 2, 3, and 4, and then the next board will review that. Fine. Okay? Fine. I need a seconder, though.
Reporter, Madam Chair, in your comments.
I'm sorry?
You're not being recorded in your comments with the rest of the trustees. Your microphone isn't on. I can't hear you properly, and neither can the recording.
Thank you. Okay, so, you want that as an amendment. Do you have a seconder? Trustee Intomasi, a seconder? Yes, please come in. We are not in camera. Something else, Trustee Quinn? Yes, go ahead.
Through you, Madam Chair, what percentage precisely of that envelope is Trustee Danko proposing that we put aside for merit-based increases?
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm not proposing a specific amount to be set aside tonight. I want the trustees to debate that within the context of the policy we're developing around executive compensation. So it could be 1%, it could be 4.9%, anywhere in between, but I think that something ought to be set aside for performance incentives.
Though I support the motion, I think we're getting away from the actual point of the motion itself, which is to decide on a percentage envelope. We can, in fact, as a board, at our last meeting, we had a quorum of individuals who said they would like to move in that direction already, and that we actually have an item we're discussing in policy on that very item as well. We've confirmed multiple times that we would like to move to a merit-based system. It doesn't speak to the point of the motion and the one thing we're required to do today, which is the percentage increase of the envelope which the ministry is asking of us. So, prove it, disprove it. I agree with it. I don't think it should be added to this specific motion because it distracts from what we're trying to decide today.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to respond to that. I think that most of the trustees sitting around this table will feel more comfortable taking the full amount of funding available from the province if they know that it's going to be part of it. It's going to be set aside for performance-based, merit-based compensation. I think that if they pass this amendment, then the rest of the motion will also pass.
Thank you. Any other feedback, trustees, on the amendment? We're talking about the amendment only. Trustee Quinn?
No, sorry, I wanted to talk about the entire motion. I'll wait for that.
Okay, we're voting on the amendment then. All right, are we ready? Okay. Trustee Carabella?
In favor.
Trustee Ingrid? You can pass, it's okay, you can pass, that's fine. Trustee Intomasi?
In favor.
Trustee Michael?
In favor.
Trustee Trites?
In favor.
Vice Chair Moran?
Opposed.
Trustee Danko?
In favor.
Trustee Christina?
Abstained.
Trustee Rowe?
In favor.
Trustee Anna Maria?
Abstained.
Trustee Quinn?
In favor.
All right, so the amendment passes. So now we're back at the main motion. We have it moved by Trustee Intomasi, seconded by Trustee Rowe. Discussion on that further. Trustee Quinn, then Trustee Danko.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. My concern with this recommendation from the Chair and the Director is the flimsy grounds on which we're basing this, whereas stakeholder feedback was not in support of the Board's proposed executive compensation program. I did not find any of those comments from stakeholders compelling. I'd invite everyone listening to read them, and unfortunately, I wasn't here for the other compelling reasons that perhaps Eric brought to us, but I cannot support that based on the stakeholder feedback.
The chair and the director did not create those particular motions. They were decided upon at the last meeting, in essence, and then we just put them into the terminology that goes into these reports.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I just see your names at the bottom of this.
That's because someone has to submit it, yes. Okay, any other comments? Trustee Danko, you were next, and then Trustee Intomasi.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So, to be clear, we approved 2.6% already, which really in the grand scheme of things, is only about $50,000 on a salary envelope of $2 million. You know, are we really going to debate $50,000, less than $50,000 on this motion? That's really the total amount of money that's in question here. It's $48,000 on an annual basis for 3 years. I think that it's worth that amount to have an opportunity to be innovative in our incentive compensation plan, to innovate in that area, to be one of the first boards in the province to do that, and to continue offering a competitive, this is the most expensive county to reside in, one of the most expensive ones in Ontario, and I think that our executives need to be able to be competitive with other jurisdictions.
I would just like to echo Trustee Danko's comments insofar as that we have exceptional people working at this board, and I think if you're going to have your leaders lead, you have to attract the best and brightest, and I think the only way to do that is to certainly be competitive and to encourage them to stay where they are versus go somewhere else. And as far as the stakeholder feedback was, albeit it wasn't a lot, I heard nothing that supported our 2.6. So if there's only 8 that showed up to say that's not right, we don't have any to say that it was.
Thank you. Vice Chair Murray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have 5 points I wanted to make. First, respectfully, I think we all agree that we want to compensate our wonderful executive team because they do an excellent job. But there are 5 points I want to make is I think it's wrong that there has been, at the very least, an appearance of collusion, for lack of a better word, between associations or boards or individuals. I'm not suggesting anyone here, but that they speak with the Ministry of Education to see what boards can get away with for the increase in the envelope. And that's what happened in Ontario here, where everyone chatted, and it's good that the education sector speaks about this, but everyone spoke to the ministry and said, what do you think is the maximum we're going to be able to get away with that you're going to actually approve? And I think it's wrong that everyone came together in this way and decided it's 5%. And frankly, the public participation in this was inadequate. Number 2, I think it's wrong that we'd increase an executive cumulative envelope by 5% versus the public and private sector increase that we see across the province of 2.6%. Number 3, I think it's a risk that we increase this envelope from what we've already decided as a board at 2.6% to 5%, with the understanding that the Ministry of Education is going to fund us. I, for one, do not believe the Ministry of I believe the Ministry of Education can come in 3 years and 2 years and 3 months and say, no, we are going to decide to put this on boards, and we're going to have, after entering into contracts with our superintendents or executive, we are going to have to find the money somewhere else. Everyone's aware of the financial situation in the province, and everyone's aware of the political situation in the province. Number 4, our friend here today, our resource, came in and mentioned that we can tell taxpayers that it was our mandate to increase. And he's right. It is our mandate to describe the amount we increase the executive envelope. But we are not mandated to increase it by the maximum amount the province will allow, which is 5%. Number 5, I think, from what I hear, everybody agrees with this merit-based system, and I agree with Trustee Danko. It's something we should be pushing, and by defeating this motion today, by opposing this motion today, it does not mean we cannot move forward on merit-based pay. The fact is, if we continue with the 2.6%, which is what we saw from Mercer, the private and more actually than the rest of the public sector gets, we would be able to work with a 7.8% increase it's actually more because of compounding, but over the next 3 years, which is in line with what taxpayers get. So one does not mean we can't do the other. So I'm going to oppose this recommendation, and I encourage you to stick with what we decided as a board back in September and not rescind that decision and vote to keep the 2.6% per year. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak before we take the vote? No? All right, so we're ready for the vote. And I don't think I need to read it again. Does anyone need it read again? No? You...
I just want to clarify one thing, which is
yes.
Because we're rescinding a motion already made by this board, it will take 2/3 in order for
yes. Yes, it will.
It would take 2/3 for the motion we already passed to be rescinded.
Six votes for this. All right, so we ready? Okay. Trustee Carabella?
Opposed.
Trustee Ingrid? Yes. Trustee Intomasi?
In favor.
Trustee Michael? Opposed. Trustee Trites?
In favor.
Trustee Vice Chair Murray?
Opposed.
Trustee Danko?
In favor?
Trustee Christina?
In favor.
Okay. Trustee Rowe?
In favor?
Trustee Anna Maria?
In favor.
Trustee Quinn?
Opposed.
Okay, and so what is that? 1, 2, 3? 6 in favor? Sorry? No. So what is it? 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. And I haven't voted. So if I vote, it still fails. Okay, it fails. It's at 2.6. And thank you very much, Eric, for coming these 2 nights. Thank you so very much. All right. For those who have joined us, this was an in-camera item of the board, and it was moved by a board resolution into the public section. So what we will do now is we will stay in the public section of the board, the regular meeting of the board, and we will begin with our regular program for the evening, and we will go back into in-camera to finish our in-camera sessions after this particular meeting. Okay? So we'll take a 5-minute break. All right? Thank you very much. And thank you so much, Eric. It's been a pleasure seeing you, and we'll see you again. Thank you. All right, so welcome to our regular board meeting of Tuesday, February the 6th, 2018. Student trustee Christina is going to lead us this evening in prayer. Thank you, Christina.
Good evening, everyone. Please join me in the sign of our faith. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord God, enlighten what is dark in me, strengthen what is weak in me, mend what is broken in me, bind what is bruised in me, heal what is sick in me, revive whatever peace and love has died in me. Restore me, Father, as you would have me, that I may better serve you and show all your glory to all of the world. Since then you have been raised with Christ. Set your hearts on things above where Christ is, seated at the right hand of God. Set your mind on things above, not earthly things. For you died, and your life is now hidden within Christ in God. When Christ, who your life appears, that you will also appear with him in glory. Put to death, therefore, whatever belongs to your earthly nature, sexual immorality, impurity, lust, evil desires, and greed, which is adultery. Because of these, the wrath of God is coming. You used to walk in these ways in the life you once lived, but now you must also rid yourselves of all things like these, of anger, rage, malice, slander, filthy language from your lips. Do not lie to each other, since you have taken off your old self with its practices and have put on the new self, which is being renewed in the knowledge and image of its Creator. Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. And all of these virtues put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body you were called to peace. And be thankful. Let the message of Christ dwell among you richly and teach you to love one another with wisdom through all psalms, hymns, and songs from the Spirit, singing to God with gratitude in your hearts. And whatever you do, whether in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to the Father through him. O God, hold me in the palm of your hand. I pray that you will mold me into what you want me to be. May I joyfully fill the role you have given me and feel your peace and love deep within my soul today and always. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Christina. We do not have any motions adopted in camera. Our in-camera session will take place after the regular meeting of the board, and so we have no motions to share with you and no information that we have received at this point in time. So now I am asking for an approval, first of all, additions to the agenda. Vice Chair Marai.
One addition, which is a notice of motion to rescind the decision to close Holy Family Catholic Elementary.
Trustee Vice Chair Marai, that will be 11.4, no, wait a minute, 10.6. Thank you. Holy Family, okay. Trustee Rowe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a notice of motion to reconsider Resolution 29/18, upholding the sanctity of life through donations to charities and nonprofits.
Thank you, Trustee Rowe. That will be under information number 10.7. Trustee Quinn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also have a notice of motion regarding SO frozen salary grid.
A notice of motion. So that will be 10.8 under information, Trustee Quinn. All right, any others? No? Okay. Can I have a mover, please, for approval of the agenda? Vice Chair Marai, seconded by Trustee Rowe. All in favor? Thank you. Declarations of conflict of interest? None? Thank you. We have no delegations. Approval of minutes. 6.1, minutes of the January 16th, 2018 regular board meeting. Can I have a mover, please? Trustee Trice, seconded by Trustee Michael. Any questions to the minutes? All in favor? Thank you. Business arising on page 8 of your package. I don't recall it being very much that we had to talk about there. No, okay. Just a few things listed. There are 2 things listed, right? Okay, so they are there for your attention. Action items under item 8, 8.1, policy 1-11, international students. Vice Chair Marai.
Motion is resolved that the Halton Catholic District School Board accept the recommendation of the Policy Committee that Policy I-11 International Students name be changed to Policy I-11 International Student Admission Requirements, fee-paying students, and be approved as amended.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder, please? Trustee Michael, any questions to the motion? All in favor? Thank you. Vice Chair Marai, number 8.2, Policy 1-36, Trustee Code of Conduct, please.
I'll move resolve the Halton Catholic District School Board accept the recommendation of the Policy Committee and approve Policy I-36, Trustee Code of Conduct as amended.
Thank you. A seconder, please. Trustee Ian Tomasi. Any questions? All in favor? Thank you. Vice Chair Marai, 8.3, Policy 2-05, reporting student achievement to parents and guardians.
Thank you. Resolve the Halton Catholic District School Board accept the recommendation of the Policy Committee that Policy 2-05, reporting to parents, name be changed to Policy 2-05, reporting student achievement to parents/guardians, and be approved as amended.
Thank you. A seconder, please. Trustee Trice, any discussion on that particular motion? All in favor? Thank you. Vice Chair Marai, 8.4, Policy 2-41, School Uniform Dress Code, School Dress Code.
Tricky one, and we should take it slowly.
Take it slowly.
Be it resolved, I'll move it, but be it resolved, the Halton Catholic District School Board accept the recommendation of the Policy Committee and approve Policy 2-41, School Uniform Dress Code, School Dress Code, as amended.
Thank you. A seconder, please. Trustee Ian Tomasi. Any discussions on that? All right. All in favor? Thank you. Opposed? Sorry. Thank you. Everyone's been going along so well here. Opposed? We have 1. Thank you. Trustee Quinn. All right. 8.5, Policy V-05, School Accidents, Prevention and Safety. Vice Chair Marai.
Move, be it resolved, the Halton Catholic District School Board accept the recommendation of the Policy Committee that Policy V/05, School Accidents Safety, name be changed to Policy V-05, School Accidents Prevention and Safety, and be approved as amended.
Thank you. A seconder, please. Trustee Carabella. Any questions? Discussion? All in favor, please? Thank you. 8.6, proposed assumption renewal works, Phase 1. Vice Chair Murray. I'm sorry, Superintendent Merrick. I'm just on a roll here.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And through you, this report is as presented at the January 16th board meeting for the renewal works at Assumption Catholic Secondary School, and involves the renovation of the science labs and the addition of air conditioning in the gymnasiums for completion in the summer of 2018. So there's two resolutions for consideration. The first to approve the project scope, and the second to approve the project budget.
First, we've got it on, it's not on the table just yet. Seconder? Trustee Intomasi, you're seconding it?
I'd like to propose an amendment, please.
Okay, before you do that, we need to get it on the seconder. Trustee Quinn? Okay, and now Trustee Intomasi, an amendment?
Yes, Madam Chair. In both resolutions, I'd like to have the part of the second part of the second sentence of the first resolution with the reduced scope encompassing removed, and replace it with to the fullest extent possible, commencing with. And I would like the same wording also for the second resolution, with the reduced scope encompassing being removed and to the fullest extent possible, commencing with, be inserted.
So, let's just read that again then. Resolved that the Halton Catholic District School Board authorize staff to proceed with the proposed Assumption Secondary School renewal project with the, to the fullest extent possible, commencing with, fullest extent possible, commencing with addition of air conditioning to the gymnasiums and the refresh of the existing science laboratories. Yes? We're good? All right, a seconder, please, for the amendment. Trustee Quinn, any questions to the amendment, please? All in favor of the amendment? Thank you. We're going back to the main motion. All right, and we've got a mover and a seconder, I think, on the table on that one also. So all in favor? Thank you. So that's that one. We're going down to the second one. Can I have a mover, please? Mover? Trustee Trites, seconded by Trustee Michael, I guess. You got your hand up? Thank you. Resolved that the Halton Catholic District School Board authorize staff to expense fund from the available capital funding and the capital reserve for the proposed Assumption Catholic Secondary School project to the fullest extent possible, commencing with the addition of air conditioning to the gymnasium and the refresh of the existing science laboratories, and that expenditure will not exceed $1.1 million. Is that right? Okay. Any questions to that? We have a mover and a seconder on that, don't we? Yes. Okay. All in favor? Thank you. All right. So we're good with that one. Okay. All right. 8.7, Superintendent Merrick. St. Mark Catholic Elementary School addition, sketch plan design, and preliminary budget.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you, this report is as presented at the January 16th board meeting. It's a sketch plan approval for the addition at St. Mark's School, for the school addition, the child care center addition, and the early on center addition. The only change from the previous report is we worked with the operator for the early on center and added in some details on the early on center layout. So on page 5, the sketch plan book in the blue shading, you'll see some extra details added into for the early on center. However, the school portion, the child care portion remain the same. So yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Thank you. A mover, please, for that. Trustee Intomasi and Trustee Trite seconding it. All in favor? Any questions? First of all, no questions? All in favor? Thank you very much. All right, we're turning the page. Staff reports, 9.1, 2018-19 budget estimates, schedule, objectives, and consultations. Superintendent Ngoy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is the first of a number of board reports that we present on the 2018-19 budget process. The provincial consultation for education funding took place in November through a number of regional symposia. The Superintendent Percassin and myself attended the Toronto Area Symposium on November 1st. The discussion focused on the allocation and enveloping of various areas, including Learning Opportunities Grant, Indigenous Education, looking at various leads funded through the ministry, through the GSN, and Education Program Other, Early Years Capital, and feedback on the Pupil Accommodations Review Guidelines. The budget schedule is attached as Appendix B to the report. Over the next couple of months, staff will analyze both the departmental budget as well as the salary and benefit budgets, review the enrollment projections and the staffing ratios, identify program enhancements, and propose new initiatives for the upcoming year. A budget survey will be released on February 14th, with results planned to be presented to the board on March 6th. A trustee and senior staff budget session is planned to be scheduled during March, and we will be posting on our website the date once we agree upon the date of this session. The grants for student needs are expected to be released by the end of March, with an analysis presented to trustees at the meeting on April 3rd. A budget presentation will be held at the May Special Education Advisory Committee meeting, and draft budget estimate reports will be presented to trustees on May 15 and June 5th, with the final budget for approval to take place at the June 19th meeting. Appendix C lists the budget objectives for the upcoming year. They are organized by strategic priorities, and one of the main updates from last year's objectives is our goal to build the operating reserve to 2% over the next 7 years. And we are currently at 1% of our provincial or operating allocation. And this is in keeping with the ministry's guidelines for maintaining a low financial risk for the board. Pages 4 and 5 of the report outline the initial environmental scan for 18-19, and we'll have an opportunity to discuss these in more detail at the trustee budget session. And thank you, and myself and my staff will be happy to take any questions trustees may have.
Thank you. Any questions for Superintendent Lagoya in the Budget Department, Finance Department? Vice Chair Murray?
Not any specific questions at this time. I just want to mention or ask that we schedule a town hall, a telephone town hall on the budget in that period of time. Please.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? All right, thank you. I just have one question talking about Bishop Redding here. With the conclusion, after the conclusion, you have the motions listed, and you've got an amount in there, 20 million something. I don't see the daycare included in that. The 20 million does include the daycare, and it doesn't specifically specify. It talks about the BR addition, but it doesn't mention. Does it have to have, in these motions, does it have to have it listed that it's including the daycare? I'd rather ask you now than at the next meeting.
Right. I believe Superintendent Merrick will address that in the next report. This staff report doesn't have a motion. What we do for the budget process, we have a series of staff reports. They all go up to the last June meeting when it culminates with the budget approval. We will be addressing that question in the next item. Thank you.
Any other questions regarding that addition? Thank you. No? All right. 9.3, response to the December 19th, 2017 delegation. Superintendent Cipriano.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair, I present the staff report as the response to the delegation that came before the board on December.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Camillo. I'm ahead of myself. 9.2, did I miss that? Oh, okay, go ahead. I was just... Must be gifted. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. On January 19th, the board was informed of the ministry's approval of our funding request for an addition at Bishop Redding Catholic Secondary School in Milton. This was for a 29 classroom addition to the school, as well as a 4-room child care center addition. So we're seeking to proceed with approval to select an architect and proceed with capital planning for the project. And it's critical that we move as quickly as possible on this project since we currently have 35 portables at Bishop Redding. We're hoping to hit start construction in September for the project. So to hit those timelines, we need to move as quickly as possible. So we have 4 resolutions for trustee consideration at the next board meeting. The first is to approve us to proceed in selecting an architect for the project. The second is to approve the full project budget, which encompasses both the school addition and the child care center addition funding. And the third and fourth resolutions there are for the borrowing bylaws for both the school and the child care portion. So the project was fully funded by the ministry and seeking approval to proceed with capital planning.
Any questions from anyone here? All right, I think I asked my question. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. 9.3, response to December 19th, 2017 delegation. Camillo, sorry.
That's great. Take 2. Okay, and through you, Madam Chair, I present the staff report as the response to the delegation that came before you in December regarding the uniform delegation. It was titled Uniforms as an Equity Issue. Your response to that delegation was to direct staff to, and I'll quote it, what the direct request was, particularly what other Catholic school boards who use uniforms are doing and how this might help us continue as we work through policy discussions about uniforms, sole source providers, and this new information on the burden of preparing clothes. Although that was the very specific request of staff, it was decided that we would present to you some of the items that were raised in the delegation with respect to RFP process, fair labor practice in the factory audits, the uniform quality, any financial benefits to the board, if any, and the financial support to families. And so that is before you in the staff report. We also have Dan Talcott from our purchasing department that could answer some of those questions around the RFP, uniform quality, if you have them. But finally, I do want to direct you to the chart in Appendix 1. It is the request that you made of us to respond to that delegation. What you have before you are the 38 school boards in Ontario, French Catholic, English Catholic, 29 English, 37, 29 English, 8 French Catholic, and how they respond to uniforms. Of the 37 English and French Catholic school boards, 28 school boards have students in either elementary or secondary school are mandated to wear school uniforms. Of the 28, 27 of the 28 school boards have sole uniform providers, as we do in Halton Catholic, the only exception being Hamilton Catholic District School Board. All the other boards are there, and I hope that the chart is self-explanatory. Myself or Dan would be happy to answer any questions you may have regarding the report or the chart.
Thank you very much, Camillo. Any questions from trustees on the school uniform? Trustee Quinn.
Thank you very much. A much shorter report than I expected, but I'm still, and I remain under the impression that Toronto Catholic District School Board has a preferred supplier, not a sole source supplier. Can you confirm that, please?
Sure. The Toronto District School Board, Toronto Catholic District School Board, they mandate their students wear white shirt and navy pants, so they don't have a real uniform. They call it a uniform, but they can purchase it anywhere. That's for elementary schools. In their secondary schools, they have a sole provider for their secondary students for their uniforms.
Any other questions? Trustee Carabella?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. So when you did the research, was there any pros and cons about having the preferred supplier versus, like, what did they find with their preferred supplier? Some pros and cons, or did they say?
I spoke with people at the board office, and like my role, some individuals that were in my similar role, sometimes we just spoke to office staff. They really didn't comment on whether there was a preferred supplier or not. We were just, as requested by the board, we were finding out what the status is across the province with respect to school uniforms. We weren't asking what their preference was, what they felt was a positive or negative of the sole provider. That wasn't the request of the board.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, so thank you very much. Appreciate that, Superintendent Cipriano. So now we're into information items. 10.1, Student Trustees Update. Student Trustee Christina.
Hi, everyone. So just our student trustee update for the month. We have our monthly Senate meeting next week at St. Thomas of Aquinas, and we're looking forward to planning and executing the rest of our initiatives for the year. Next week, all three of us will also be attending the Ontario Student Trustees Association Board Council Conference in Ottawa, where we look forward to working alongside the Catholic Board Council to work on our initiatives for the Ontario Catholic Student Youth Day and the Ontario Catholic Student Youth Day the week. So we have an exciting initiative planned around clean water, both on the global and local level. I had the pleasure of attending the OXTA conference a couple weeks ago, and it was a great opportunity to collaborate with my fellow student trustees and school board trustees from across the province. Under the pillar of believing, after exams, there are still many de-stressing Christian meditation sessions in many of our school chapels. There have been scheduled chastity presentations to grade 10s in the majority of the secondary schools this month, and many schools have been incorporating daily Black History Month prayers into their school day routine to promote diversity and celebrate various cultures.
So under the pillar of belonging, we have this month as being Black History Month, and many of our schools are taking this opportunity to highlight past historical Black Canadians and celebrate their achievements and the difference they have made in Black history. I know Assumption is personally doing announcements every day regarding this subject, and this week, St. Thomas Aquinas is having a Black History Person of the Day. There are also African drumming circles at St. Benedict to promote Black History Month. We've also celebrated across our board Bell Let's Talk Day, which many of our high schools and schools have taken as an opportunity to talk about the importance of mental health and creating strong school communities in which our students feel supported and encouraged in, and how that is very important for our school communities. The season of Lent is coming up, and many of our schools are thinking ahead for this. It is a season of prayer, fasting, and almsgiving, so some of our schools are raising money for the HCCEF Student Guardian Program. Some of our schools are, St. Andrews particularly is doing a kindergarten kindness tree to promote kind activities and celebrate the season of Lent that is coming. And finally, under belonging, we have the final stretch of our bullying prevention See the Problem, Be the Solution contest. So we are working on gathering those submissions and making sure that we have as full of a participation from all of our feeder schools and secondary schools. Our senators are working hard with our feeder schools to make sure that they feel supported and they have all the tools they need necessary in order to complete their submissions.
And finally, under achieving, so this past Friday, February 2nd, I had the pleasure of attending the International Student Orientation Day at Thomas Merton Center, and each student was connected with a Student Senate representative who then gave them an individual tour of their new school. And we look forward to continuing these initiatives with all the recently arrived international students, as well as the ones that had come throughout the semester. Several senior football student athletes are being recognized for their commitment, athleticism, and skill by being selected for the 2017-2018 HCAA All-Star Team. And as well as secondary school students are also transitioning into the new semester this week and will be receiving their final evaluations over the next couple of days following the exams.
Thank you very much, ladies. You are incredibly busy. Very, very talented. Trustee Intermassey.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, I would just like to thank Christina for being at the OXTA event, and I just want to let everybody know our students who do show up, and I know that they all can't, and I know that some boards don't allow them to, which is unfortunate, because their presence at OXTA is well appreciated, they're well spoken, they're professional looking. I am so proud of our students, and I just want to say that for anybody who does get to come to an AGM where you have the student trustees, they're very impressive.
Oh, I thought I'd lost my microphone. Thank you. All right, so our next one is 10.2, and school educational field trips, and I believe Superintendent Overholt, you're talking for Superintendent Benelli?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair, the 7 approved educational field trips are there for trustees. We'd be happy to answer any questions.
I see a little bit of a discrepancy between the two schools that are going to Ottawa, and you know, a couple of $100 is quite a bit for a family, so can that be looked at as to...
Sure. Through you, Madam Chair, a lot of variances could happen between trips, could be the location where they're staying, could be the types of activities they're doing as well. So that is a major factor as to what is going on in the number of students. So we can look into it, but that will probably be what we'll find out.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on that? No? All right, thank you. 10.3, School Naming Committee, Oakville South, that is Superintendent Pinelli, but Superintendent Overholt, you're going to speak on that?
Through you, Madam Chair, report before you is similar to one we brought forward to you about the Northeast Oakville school naming. The consolidation transition teams are taking place for both the Oakville South and the Oakville Northeast. And the Oakville South Transition Committee has also looked through and recommended that the process be initiated in regards to policy I-15 in regards to the school naming committee. School naming committee is being established as we speak and will be meeting to bring forward at least 2 names to trustees.
Thank you. Any questions for Superintendent Overholt? All right, thank you. 10.4, 2017 Capital Priorities Grant Preliminary Ministry Funding Announcement. Superintendent Nagoy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This report is to inform trustees of the Ministry's announcement on January 19 to fund the Bishop Ruddick addition with the 4-room childcare and the St. Michael's renovation and 3-room childcare. We're still waiting on the formal letter to give us the information on the breakdown of funding and the answer and corresponding detailed responses on all the other 6 business cases that we submitted. Once the letter is received, we'll communicate it with trustees. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Superintendent Nagoy? No? All right, thank you. 10.5, the Director's Annual Report, 216 to 217. Director Dawson.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. I'm very pleased to share this annual report. This is the 2016-17 school year. I believe trustees have some paper copies at their places, and this is also available online, and we're moving to that more. We don't print as many copies because our online edition has many links in it, so it makes it very interactive. Some highlights I wanted to share with you. We've structured this annual report to reflect our strategic priorities, achieving, believing, belonging, and foundational elements. You'll notice under the achieving area, we focused on building collaborative learning environments when we talk about thinking and working and tools and how to live in the world. You'll notice we focused on innovation and creativity. Lots of things happened in the past year, and some highlights were an invention convention with some STEM activities for our students. And of highlight is what we call the incubator, which is now housed at Jean Vanier, and we call it where learning and ideas are hatched. And this is a testing zone. It's creative for students and teachers so that teachers can start with the curriculum and make it accessible to students through a variety of tools before they actually go out and buy these tools, and they can see how it would work for their learning needs. There's a green screen there for video filming. There's robotics, different types of things there, coding devices, and they are supported when they attend by our curriculum staff. You'll notice that we had a lot of inquiry projects over the last few years, and lots of teachers and students are engaged in our inquiry projects, and you can look at some of those projects with the links embedded online. A highlight, and I love the faces of the children in kindergarten on the outdoor classrooms. The outdoor playgrounds is really just another classroom, and it helps get students engaged and active. We have a mandatory requirement to include our EQAO results in the annual plan and our annual report, and as you can see, we consistently perform above the provincial average in all areas. We always highlight our Walk with Jesus under Believing. It's one of the premier events for celebrating our Catholic Education Week. We've highlighted Christian meditation, and we had some comments in there from staff and from students, and also our theological theme was developed. We have, under our belonging priority, we have a student-led, as you know, the bullying and anti-bullying campaign, See the Problem, Be the Solution, and our student trustees are the leaders who lead this and then take it to a regional with the other school board under Give Respect and Get Respect. Our students and our schools have overwhelmingly participated in this, and I think that's a tribute to our student leaders and our student trustees. There's mental health awareness, where we want to highlight that we want to destigmatize mental health issues through our Talk, Learn, Support philosophy. There's been professional development for staff. And one thing that took a long time, but it's well worth it under foundations, and a huge undertaking, was the updating of our school websites. That was a collaborative project between IT and Strategic Communications. It provides consistency in the way our websites function and allows for some customization of our school logo and colors. Additionally, some things that are mentioned are the declining student enrollment in South Oakville, but good news because of a new building, and then the growing in the north in Milton, with the addition of Milton number 8 and the approval, the building of and the opening of St. Gregory, and then the hiring chart at the end of how many people in the various areas that were hired. So I'm very pleased, and I want to thank our Strategic Communications Department who really do a wonderful job in putting this together for our board. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Director, and it certainly is a beautiful book that has been produced outlining the highlights of what we do here. Any questions for the Director? No? All right, thank you. Moving on to 10.6, I think you're next. It's Vice Chair Murray, notice of motion regarding Holy Family.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Rescinding the decision to close Holy Family Catholic Elementary School, whereas the Halton Catholic District School Board approved the consolidation of Holy Family Catholic Elementary School with St. Marguerite de Ville Catholic Elementary School on March 7th, 2017, with the following motion, number 6817. Be it resolved that in the event the Ministry of Education does not approve funding of option 1A, the 2017 school consolidation capital submission, the Halton Catholic District School Board adopt and implement Part 2 of Option 12B, the alternate plan, as the preferred accommodation plan for the Oakville Northeast Pupil Accommodation Review area. Specifically, that the Halton Catholic District School Board consolidate Holy Family Catholic Elementary School into St. Marguerite de Ville Catholic Elementary School effective the 2020-21 school year, and that the Halton Catholic District School Board approve the construction of a permanent classroom addition to St. Marguerite de Ville Catholic Elementary School that will effectively accommodate the sustainable projected student enrollment. Whereas the Ministry of Education provided no funding for this initiative, whereas a moratorium on school closures was enacted by the provincial government just 3 months later, in June 2017, be it resolved the Halton Catholic District School Board rescind the above motion, number 6817, and keep Holy Family Catholic Elementary School open.
Thank you, and you'll make sure that Rosie has a copy. Thank you. All right, thank you. So that will be discussed as for action next meeting, which is what, the 20th? 10.7 is the notice of motion from Trustee Rowe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My resolution is resolved that the Halton Catholic District School Board reconsider resolution number 2918, upholding the sanctity of life through donations to charities and nonprofits.
Thank you, and you'll make sure that Rosie has a copy?
I do.
Thank you. 10.8, SO frozen salary. Was that Trustee Quinn, was that you? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you. Whereas the Halton Catholic District School Board received ongoing funding from the Ministry of Education in relation to the commensurate salary grid movements of senior staff, but did not make payments according to the contract signed in good faith with board superintendents. And whereas other Ontario school boards have recently been obliged to repay those previously withheld amounts as required by the provincially mandated salary freeze following legal proceedings on behalf of the superintendents, and our board wishes to avoid similar proceedings. And whereas the Halton Catholic District School Board wishes to reiterate our commitment to adhere to all contractual commitments made in good faith, be it resolved, the Halton Catholic District School Board retroactively repay all contractual obligations of salary grid commensurate compensation increases that were withheld to the senior officers of the HCDSB with interest of no greater than 5% per annum. Thank you.
Thank you. So those items will be for action at the next board meeting. All right, so now we are down to miscellaneous information, 11.1. You have the minutes of the November 20th, 2017 SEAC meeting. 11.2, the minutes of the December 4th, 2017 CPIC meeting. 11.3, minutes of the December 12th, 2017 Policy Committee meeting. Under 12, correspondence, item 12. I'm sorry? Did I miss something again?
Yes, under the policy meeting, in the minutes on page 223, it has me voting for something and I was not in attendance.
Okay, so on the policy committee meeting, all right, we'll make...
Item 3.2.
3.2 on policy. Okay.
Thank you.
We'll let you know. Okay. Thank you very much. No problem. All right, so we have under 12, were there any other corrections or anything with the minutes? No? Okay, good. Under 12.1, we have a letter from the Ontario English Catholic Teachers Association for your reading pleasure. Open question period. I don't think we have anything, Rosie? No? All right. You have? Okay, so the... Yes, what you were telling me about, yes. All right, so there's no open question period. Now, the director would like to speak to a matter before we go back to in-camera.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is save the date for those for trustees and staff. On April 11th at 5 o'clock, we are holding a celebration of a career in Catholic education for Giacomo Corbaccio at St. Thomas Aquinas. There will be details coming out in an email tomorrow or the next day. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that's 5 o'clock on
April
Wednesday,
11th.
April the 11th at St. Thomas Aquinas.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. All right, so now we're going to go back into in-camera. So we do like all who came to participate in our meeting. It was wonderful to see you. Thank you very much.